racket head stays really high. We've all been there. Nice, Jeff.
Nice.
Hey, nice job. Yeah, it's really good. If I could sum it up into one concept, it would be circular instead of linear, which she drew the lines before. Your swing before I would characterize as a kind of a pushy, just kind of, yeah, for sure. And so the way she's setting you up, she's used the word, I think momentum a couple of times, meaning the weight of the racket head starting up, beginning to drop, and just kind of slingshotting that energy around, which is going to make your backhand feel way smoother and more efficient than the way you're doing it now.
Again, less energy for more results. Same thing that we were doing on your forehand.
Yep.
Is kind of what we're doing. Because right now you're like fighting it to get that extra.
Yeah.
But I really want to focus on that you have the ball here and you're going to see my racket head drop below to come up to the ball. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you talk a little bit about racket head relative to the hands as well?
Yes. And as I drop down, now you see at the bottom, my hands still here, but now my racket head is below my hands. And then continues down below, 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 and then you get into this position here where you can really see that my racket head is down here and my hands are here.
I already know how this is going to look on mine.
And you get into this start position where your racket head is here and your hands are here, right? So I can deal with that.
Okay.
Racket head is above the wrist. Now we keep going, and we're about to where the racket head is down here in the swings that I showed you before. And now your racket head is still here with your hands below.
Yes.
Right? So then we go into the full right before contact where it was the lowest, and your racket head is here with your hands still here.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. There's always going to be some sort of, if you're hitting some sort of topspin or flat ball, you're always going to have some sort of below the ball to above the ball.
Yep.
Keep it that pace. That's a really good pace right there.
That's nice, Jeff.
Nice.
So we're getting down to the moment of truth where we just did some dummy tosses, which is just kind of a stepping stone in between shadow swings and actually trying to hit the ball. And in probably about 60 or 90 seconds, Megan's going to actually drop a ball to Jeff, and we'll see if he can actually do the new thing with trying to hit the ball at the same time, which is always the hardest part. Anybody can do a correct shadow swing. When they know they have to hit the ball, they tend to go right back to what their old habit was, their bad swing. So we'll see how he does.
Okay, so the goal is to have all four look exactly the same. Okay, so 2 shadows, right? 1 dummy toss, good, and 1 hit. Good.
So pretty much best case scenario. Jeff basically kept the exact same swing between his shadow swing, the dummy toss, and the actual hit, which honestly is pretty rare. For most amateur athletes, the actual hit is somewhere in between the shadow swing and their old habit. They've got their old habit that's kind of sucking them back. Shadow swing they can do no problem, but then when we drop a ball and have them actually hit the new one, it's kind of halfway in between. Jeff basically did the same correct swing on all 3, which is best case scenario. So now it's a matter of slowly increasing the difficulty to try to get him to do the correct thing with a little bit more challenge at a time.
Start to maneuver a little bit, nice and smooth. There you go.
Nice, Jeff.
What's the difference for you?
Slowing it down. I think I still need to just keep it slow.
So Megan's starting to give Jeff a few more repetitions now, kind of some more rapid fire, actually hitting the ball, seeing if he can maintain a high level of execution when he repeats several in a row. probably hang out here for a couple more minutes, I think, and then eventually she'll probably move him back a little bit.
Yeah. Nice. Good. Same pace on the ball.
Anytime we introduce a new level of challenge, whether that be moving further away from the net or tossing the ball to them instead of dropping it, or feeding it instead of tossing it to them, usually there's some kind of like regression. They move back a little bit, and then we slowly build up their execution. Then we challenge them a little more, and they go back a bit, and then we slowly build it up. Jeff's pretty much just nailing it so far. We haven't challenged him much yet, but a little bit. And so now the real challenge for Megan is to find the right amount of tension. How quickly can she progress without Jeff losing the feel of the new thing and going back to his old habit?
Same pace. Nice.
One of the toughest parts about making swing path changes like this, we've lengthened his swing to give him more drop, more depth below the ball, and then more vertical path up towards contact. That takes a little bit of extra time. And we've also started with the rack a little bit higher to create a little more smoothness and momentum. Jeff's doing a really nice job working out the timing kinks, which is the biggest reason why we've kind of spent some time here on the service line. His hits are leveling out compared to the shadows,
Yeah.
which they're still much better. But I think he's waiting a little long to initiate the swing, and so he doesn't have time to complete the full drop. A big part of the challenge for Megan is balancing the right amount of information. If she gives him too many things to think about, then there just ends up being overwhelm, and student can't manage all of them at once. You can only really focus on one new thing at a time. So just transition back to the baseline, which is always the biggest, jump as far as execution and level of challenge and stress is concerned. He's doing a great job managing it. There's been some kind of wiggling back and forth a little bit. The timing element here is really tricky. Now that there's this much space between the feeder and him, he's having to figure out when to initiate the drop of his racket and make it at the right time so everything's really smooth and continuous. But he's figuring it out. That's right. It's starting to level out at the bottom a little bit. So we're probably at like 60-70% execution back here at the baseline now, which is about what we look for before we move forwards. In a minute or two, we're going to start to actually move him with the feed while seeing if he can execute the new movement, which is the unit turn, take back position, and then the rounded bottom instead of just kind of going straight forward to the ball. So he's doing a great job. I mean, we're just very reliably stacking like one thing on top of another, and he's managing it super well. So goal is within the next half an hour, get to an actual rally where we can test his ability to do it in a more real life scenario.
There it is. Nice, Jeff.
Jeff's pretty much all-star status. He's grabbed a lot of different concepts about body position and timing, and now Megan just threw in some different footwork patterns that were definitely really holding him back as far as how he was able to move efficiently around the court. And he's really just rolled with everything. And it's not perfect execution, but he's putting it all together at least as often as he forgets one of the individual elements that we've talked to him about, which is really amazing. We're definitely drawing a line here. Like, we're not throwing any more information at him. Now it's just really a matter of repetition because the timing is the biggest variable for him right now. He tends to be a little bit late, and that's because the swing path is a lot longer and more circular than it was before. And so he needs to work this out, especially when coordinating his footwork, so that everything can flow together at the right time and be really efficient and smooth. But we have probably 20 minutes left or so, and our goal is going to be to get to a rally where he puts all of this together. And if we can just get a couple of good repetitions within that environment, then it's a really, really successful session.
Nice. That's all right. Yep. Circle, circle. There you go, though. You tried to get it underneath.
So overall, still pretty much best case scenario. He's probably about 50-50 at the beginning of those rallies. We just did like 2-3 minutes of just live rallies to his backhand side. It started off kind of back and forth, which is really typical, kind of seesawing back and forth between the old straight kind of linear swing, and then occasionally dropping the racket head down and finding the right timing and the right circular path. But then Jeff's really physically aware. He's a good athlete, a good eye-hand coordination, physical awareness. And so we just kind of let him work it out. And towards the end, he was probably getting 2 out of 3 or 3 out of 4 that were the one that we want to see. And so that's exactly, that's all we can hope for. Like, that's best case scenario. All right, so definitely big success, 2 thumbs up for Jeff. It's funny thinking back at like the first drop and like the first hit and like just the big question mark of, can he maintain? Can he continue to do this new swing correctly? And then seeing it make all these little micro steps and progressions up to this point is really a lot of, as a teacher, you know, as a coach, it's just a lot of fun to watch that progression while all along not really knowing like where we're going to end up. And that's my favorite part of these coaching sessions. Hey, nice job. Yeah, it's really good.